Namaste and welcome to Satsang. It's a beautiful evening here in the Kootenays, in the Temple of Light. We've been having storms at the weekend and now the sun is breaking through the clouds, and there's been great excitement here because we've just seen a rainbow over the ashram. Let's start with the Divine Mother prayer, and if you've got a songbook, it's on page 9. O Divine Mother, may all my speech and idle talk be mantra, all actions of my hands be mudra, all eating and drinking be the offering of oblations unto thee, all lying down prostrations before thee. May all pleasures be as dedicating my entire self unto thee. May everything I do be taken as thy worship.
We'll sing Bhagavad on page 32.
At this point in satsang, we like to honour the light and draw the light in to the company that is gathered together. So I'm going to invite you to stand up, and I will pass the light around like this, and you bring it towards your senses, bring it towards yourselves. Soak yourselves in the light. So this is your opportunity to draw the light into you, help you to purify your senses. May all our sense perceptions be purified in the light of wisdom, and may we know our oneness with the light. Amen.
Now we'll sing on page 79 in your songbooks.
So I wanted to talk this evening a little bit about work and yoga. And I thought that I'd start by referring to the Bhagavad Gita, which many people have heard of. It's an ancient yogic text, and it really addresses the question of our working, active life and how that relates to yoga. And at the very beginning of it, to make quite sure that everybody understands that it's really about them in their life right now, it begins with the words, "On the field of truth, in the battlefield of life." So it's really about us, and it's about us right here and now. And there are two main characters, and the one is called Arjuna, and he's our ordinary everyday self, except he's quite skilled and trained already. We already know that. He's done his practices. And then the other part is played by Krishna. And Krishna, we learn, he says, "I am the soul which dwells in the heart of all." So in a certain way, at a certain level, there's this conversation going on between those two parts of ourselves. And at this point, at the very beginning, Arjuna is feeling despondent and quite rebellious. And he throws down his bow and arrow, which are his tools that he's trained to work with. And he says, "I will not." Quite clearly, "I will not." He doesn't want to do what he knows he's being asked to do, which in this case is to go into battle. And he's got some good reasons, because he's got friends and family on both sides in this battle. And it's a confusing situation. So you can see why he's saying, "I will not." But in a certain way also, the story's drawing our attention straight away to the fact that there's a major obstacle that we all have in life, and that's our "I will not" part. It's that part of us that dislikes doing things, certain things, and has self-will behind it. And so that is the part of us that Krishna needs to address. And if you think about it, we start in life having to address that part of us even when we're 2 years old. Heard the expression terrible twos, and they've learnt the word no. And it goes on, and we get to school, and we have to learn how to fit in, and we have to learn to do subjects that aren't immediately interesting to us, but they'll be useful to us later in life. And then we get into our teens or older, and we learn that it's actually a working day is longer than a school day, and things like that. And it's a bit tiring when you have to work after 4 or that kind of thing. And so we gradually train and learn to address that part of ourselves that only wants to do what it wants to do. But, you know, in a sense, what we're saying is in yoga, that's not enough, because action with grudges inside it, or resentments inside it, or that feeling of I can take a shortcut and get out of this, or there must be an alternative to this. All of those things actually take our energy. They take our energy away from what it is that we want to do, and they make us tired, and they sometimes leave us feeling quite dissatisfied as well, because we haven't accomplished that, and we haven't accomplished that either, you know. We've kind of fallen between the stools. And if we want things our own way, then inevitably we also get disappointed, because we won't always have things our own way. That's another fact of life. And in fact, Swami Radha says something quite to the point. She often says things quite to the point, and it said, "Sheer willpower won't do it." We can't overcome that part of ourselves by sheer willpower. We have to do something different. So that's where the spiritual training, where the Bhagavad Gita, where karma yoga comes into play, because there are more things to learn. And they're things like surrender, collaboration, and love, because those are the things that can help us through those obstacles. And there are kind of sweet benefits, we're told, that come from learning those skills. And they include flexibility, fluidity, and ease. My name is Sukhananda, and that means ease. That's one of its meanings. So I've been working on this a little bit to try and get to that easy place. And Krishna is actually very straight up. And he says, you can't get free by doing nothing. You've got to do something. And he says, not even for a moment can we be without action. And if you think about that for a moment, you kind of begin to see it. Yes, we're breathing. then we eat and we think and we speak. There's always something going on. So there's no kind of nothingness kind of place, even if you're a good meditator. And I turn to Shivananda because he's got some ideas, some very good ideas on how we can learn, given that we have to do things, to sort of tread lightly on the earth as we go about our business. And I picked out a few things that I rather liked that he said. One was, work for the well-being of the world. So not just your own self, but something bigger than that. And do it without things that cause pain, like egoism and attachment. And I know that immediately starts to ask all sorts of questions. And he says, become content with what comes without effort. So that points me back to that idea of ease and making things more smooth, more fluid, more flexible. And a phrase that he turns to quite a bit in the Bhagavad Gita and talks quite a lot about, and I'll try and say it right because it's a little bit of a tongue twister. It's action in inaction, and then it's inaction in action. So I'll try and say that again because it takes a little bit of thinking about. Action in inaction, and inaction in action. And I'm going to invite you to just close your eyes for a moment. Take your attention to your breath. And just start to breathe smoothly and be aware of the breath. And you can count to 4 in, 4 out. Start to get a rhythm. And ask yourself, what might Shivananda have meant? Work in the world for the well-being of the world. And what about content with what comes without effort? And what comes to your mind when I say action in inaction? Inaction, in action. I'm going to talk a little bit now about my own experience of work. And I first came to the ashram in my 30s, and sometimes people talk about Yasodhara Ashram as a karma yoga ashram, but maybe most ashrams are, I don't know. And the first thing you encounter when you do karma yoga here is the work schedule. And that is an amazing tool for helping us do exactly what Krishna is asking us to do. So we don't have to worry about what our job is because it's right there on the schedule in the morning. And you just go and do it. And you save an awful lot of energy by knowing that you just go and do whatever it says on the schedule. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to waste any energy about it. You just go and do it. So that's a good start. The second thing that I discovered was that there was quite a lot of physical work involved in running an ashram in the middle of the countryside where we're growing our own food and where we're changing beds and cleaning rooms for guests to come and that kind of thing. And to be honest, I wasn't really used to sustained physical work when I came here. I'd done quite a bit, but not in a sustained day in, day out way. And so that was interesting for me, and I had to kind of learn how to pace myself and, you know, stop and take some breaths when I found that I was feeling tired. And I discovered that actually my body was quite strong, and it got stronger with the work and with that kind of application. But the thing that was most exciting for me about it was the effect that it had on my mind, because my mind was freed up from decision making and having to sort one thing out from another. I just was getting on with things, you know, and they weren't complicated things. And so I was developing a free mind. And then I could start to practice mantra yoga when I was working, which was really nice. It was a way of shifting my mind from drifting around on perhaps negative things, but to more positive things. And there was a kind of peace that came with it. And I don't want to pretend that it was all easy and smooth going, because karma yoga takes learning. But I did get those benefits from karma yoga, and I appreciated them. And then I went back, albeit 13 years later, I went back to work for government. And so this was work that I had done previously. And I thought, well, you know, that's kind of karma yoga. For a start, the kind of work that I do, I had to go wherever I was posted. And so you did the job you were told to do. So that's a bit like the schedule, isn't it? But actually, there's a difference between acceptance, yep, I've been posted to work in that town on that job, and surrender, which is to just do it. And there is a difference, and you have to find it. And then I was working with policies. I was a policy advisor. So that meant that they weren't my policies. Governments are elected to do their policies. And so as a policy advisor, my task was to help them to work out how to do it, whether I agreed with it or not. And then to try and find out ways to make the bad parts of it as unbad as they could be, and to save money where I could on it, and that kind of thing. And so it wasn't what I wanted to do. Sometimes it was. Sometimes I absolutely agreed with it. Other times, no, I didn't. But there was an intellectual challenge. And so I enjoyed the work. I have to admit, I enjoyed the work. But it had effects on me which weren't karma yoga. I got busy. I worked long hours. It got the registic part of my mind going. And I got anxious because there was always more than I could do. And so had I dotted every I, had I thought of every possibility in this circumstance and that kind of thing. So in terms of my karma yoga performance after 13 years, I wouldn't give myself anything more than about 5 out of 10, really, to be honest. I'd definitely improved things, but there was a ways yet to go. So what does Krishna say about this? How does he help us take those next steps? And he talks about a heartfelt willingness and relaxation. And I think that's what was missing for me. It wasn't a heartfelt willingness. It was only if I really agreed with what I was doing that I could find that. So finding that heartfelt willingness and relaxing. I didn't find it very relaxing, working in the city, commuting, having to meet all these deadlines and things. And it's sort of saying, okay, go with it. Whatever it is, go with it. That helps. That thought is very, very helpful, I would say, in karma yoga. But it isn't anything goes, because we still have to have our integrity. We still do have to make choices and decisions. And that's where I think things like the yamas and the niyamas help us in yoga. So you think about ahimsa, for example. We don't want to hurt others. We also don't want to hurt ourselves. We want to do non-harm. So how do we actually take care of ourselves, have compassion for others, consideration for others, and build that into what we're doing? And then there's satya, which is truthfulness. That's much more challenging than it seems all the time, you know, to actually be truthful in what we're thinking ourselves, what we're saying ourselves. And there's a phrase that has become quite popular in the last 4 years in particular in political circles, which is talk truth to power. And it resonated with me because that was really my job as a policymaker, was to tell ministers the truth and to tell it as kindly and honestly as I could, and if necessary, duck. but it was part of the job, you know. And then there's another one, which I think I'm still finding quite difficult to get my mind around, which is asteya. And it's often translated as non-stealing and abundance, which both, they don't sound the same, do they? So how do you make sense of that? And I think, well, okay, it means you don't rob Peter to pay Paul, if people know that expression. You don't take something off one person to give it to another, thinking that there's only a limited amount to go around. And I think that's the clue, this word abundance, is that actually the divine is abundant. The light is abundant. And so we need to develop faith in our own action when it's unselfish, if that makes sense. That if we're really doing the best that we can, in the most relaxed way that we can, and we're not stingy and we're not anxious about it, we just do it because it's there to be done, then there's a trust and a faith that what's needed will flow through. And I'm just really kind of working on that one now to get into that flow of that, because it's all about entering the flow and the fluidity of our work and our action. But I think we're going to have a song next, aren't we? Another song?
We'll sing Guru Radhe on page 54.
So we're going to chant a mantra next. And the mantra that we're going to chant is Om Krishna Guru. And so it's that idea of bringing, asking for our own inner guidance, that part of us that dwells in our heart, and asking for guidance on that. And I think for me this evening, there's a connection with the idea of asteya, because what we do is try to be really still and to just focus on the mantra, let the vibration flow through us, and let the mantra flow out to the world. There are all these people, we have this long prayer list of people that have asked for their names to be on it, and we chant for it every day for the people who are on it. And we often hear back and they say that they've benefited and they're grateful, that it's really helped them to be able to tune in to that vibration. And so if you can connect to that idea as you chant, that you're just a vehicle, as it were, to allow that vibration to go out. You don't know what the solutions are for these people or for anybody, but you can be a vehicle. This is your action, your offering, that you can be a vehicle and something positive can come of it.
Krishna
allow the mantra to continue in your mind. I am created by divine light. I am sustained by divine light. I am protected by divine light. I am surrounded by divine light. I am ever growing into divine light. So this evening I've asked two of the Karma yogis who are here at the ashram to say a little bit about their own experience and what they've been learning from doing Karma yoga. And first of all, there's Charline. She's come from France and she's been with us for many months now. And over to you.
Thank you. So this is my first experience about Karma yoga. And lately I was thinking about what does it mean for me. And I think the first things that came to my mind is offering. And Karma yoga is the first place where I can experiment that offering. And then I was thinking about being a hatha teacher, because we are just going to do this certificate, and it's like Karma yoga. Really, it's a selfless service. I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it to share with others, and yeah. So it's really about what needs to be done. So when I'm offering as a Karma yoga the classes, I have all the students and I'm like, what do I have to offer and to share? And I'm offering and sharing the light and awareness and all the things that I receive here. And yeah, it's like today, like yesterday, Swami Sukhananda asked me to offer, to share tonight. And I didn't think about myself. I didn't think about that I'm going to be here. I'm thinking about, yeah, I want to share an experience, even if it's not easy. Like right now, it's not easy. But it's just sharing and offering with my heart. And I feel this is the most important.
And I will say Mary is. And that's on page 85.
Hey
So the second Karma Yogi that I'm inviting to speak this evening is Hazel. And I've known Hazel since last summer when we were working together in the office here, the Welcome Centre, as we call it. So she's been here for over a year and done quite a lot of things.
When Sukhananda asked me to speak about Karma Yoga, I was thinking of all the different areas that I've had the opportunity to experience Karma Yoga in, such as the office and Preserving Kitchen, and now also the kitchen, and spend that prolonged time in there and really learn a lot in those places. And it was quite interesting for me coming into the experience of filming the satsangs, because I studied film in college, and I kind of gave up on it a little bit when before I came here. So after the YDC, beginning this Karma Yoga journey specifically was very meaningful for me. And it's important while I'm doing this to try and remember the spirit of Karma Yoga, because when I'm weeding or, cleaning toilets, that's how I began Karma Yoga, and it just feels like I can lose that sense of Karma Yoga sometimes when I'm filming. It's something that I'm familiar with from before I came to the ashram. And so trying to bring that sense of heartfelt offering into something that requires a lot of, I really have to be in it intellectually a lot. And so it's about bringing that same spirit that I find in other Karma Yoga opportunities into the filming. And it's been a really special experience for me, and helped me to take a step forward into something that I was afraid to really go into. In a way, I'd sort of given up on it, partly because I was afraid to try. So this has been such a rich experience for me to really make the effort and see what can happen. Yeah. Thank you.
Sing Radha, O Radha on page 103.
Sing through us thy sacred
So, as we're coming to the end of satsang, we share prasad. And since the virus came into the world and we've been worried about spreading germs, we don't actually share physical sweet things to eat any longer here. Instead, we use our imagination and we think about sweetness and about what it is we have to be grateful for. And one of the things that I noticed when I was reading through the Bhagavad Gita before this satsang, because I read it right through from the beginning to end just to remind myself before satsang, and I noticed the number of times that Krishna referred to the word harmony. Sometimes harmony and peace, but very often harmony. He talks about working in harmony, and he's giving us this guide to the way to work in harmony. And again, you can think about it as harmony, which we would all like to enjoy in the ashram, of course, that we all work together in a very harmonious way. But we want to work harmoniously within ourselves as well, all the different parts of our mind that have different ideas about things. We want that harmony there too. And I looked up the word harmony to see what the dictionary had to say about it. And it said, consistent, orderly, a pleasing arrangement of parts, blended chords. And then it went on to say, harmony in life is handling the different areas of our life to work towards our own well-being and to make progress. So Krishna's promising us that there is this harmony that can be obtained through the growth of our development in karma yoga. And the peace part is about resolving the conflicts, which is, of course, where the Gita starts. It starts with a conflict. There's poor old Arjuna has got a conflict in his own mind, what to do about all of this with all his family all fallen out. And so it's about bringing that conflict to a resolution, and it says it needs to be done fairly and properly for the welfare of all. So I want you to take your hands together like this and think about the harmony that comes to you from your work. What experience do you have of harmony in your working life? What comes to mind? And invoke a sense of gratitude, a real heartfelt feeling of gratitude for those experiences that you can collect there. And we'll say together the Divine Mother prayer. O Divine Mother, may all my speech and idle talk be mantra. All actions of my hands be mudra. All eating and drinking be the offering of oblations unto thee. All lying down prostrations before thee. May all pleasures be as dedicating my entire self unto thee. May everything I do be taken as thy worship. Amen. So we're coming to the end of satsang now, and we'll be having one more song, but I'd like to just close by saying Hari Om Tat Sat to everybody. Hari Om Tat Sat.
And we'll sing Hari Om Tat Sat on page 58.